with Holmes and Watson.
All right.
So this
Now, I didn't see this movie.
You didn't see it? You had one job. Well, you had 3 jobs. See 3?
Yeah, I dropped the ball. I had some personal issues that I do not want to discuss,
Okay.
but let's talk about it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you have to make sure you ask me some questions about it as we go through this.
Okay, I'll have some questions.
So just again, remember there will be spoilers as we delve into Holmes and Watson, and I'm going to start by just giving my one-word description of this movie.
Okay, what was it?
Awful.
Oh, okay.
I would actually like to use 2 words.
Okay.
God awful.
Oh, okay. So you forgot the other part, but okay. We'll let you have it. You said one word, and now you.
No, I said like one word is awful, but if I could use 2 words, it would be god awful.
Okay. Is it as bad as everybody's been saying? Did you want to walk out of the theater within the first 5 minutes?
No. But
Okay.
I truly believe that this movie was doomed to fail.
Why do you think it was doomed to fail?
Think of it like this. Sherlock Holmes is a brilliant character. He's brilliant. His entire concept is has the ability to read people, to read situations from the smallest little details. You can't be half brilliant. Either you're brilliant or you're not brilliant. Either you know everything or you don't know everything. There's no real middle ground to Sherlock Holmes. He's brilliant.
Okay.
So I don't think Sherlock Holmes is a spoofable character. I know what Will Ferrell was trying to do. Him and the director of this movie, they were trying to make a spoof of Sherlock Holmes. But he can't do it. And Will Ferrell cannot play Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes is serious to a fault. Have you read any of the books?
I saw the 2 movies with Robert Downey Jr.
So Robert Downey Jr., did you see like the Benedict Cumberbatch version?
I watched
on Netflix?
5 minutes. And then...
Okay. Have you seen The Elementary with Johnny Lee Miller?
No.
You haven't read any books?
I haven't read any books, but I have the idea of.
So I've seen them all.
And I've seen like versions and TV shows of him as well.
I've seen him in all 4 of the things that I described. The Elementary, the modern take, in New York, Benedict Cumberbatch's version in London, modern. I've seen the movies with Robert Downey Jr. and I've read some of the books.
Okay.
He is not able to be spoofed. He can't be. He needs to be serious. You know, the movie had him not at times sharp, but at times not sharp. So there's a scene close to the beginning of the movie where he's got I want to say like some kind of bat or cricket bat.
Are they in England?
They're in London, yes.
London, it's a cricket bat.
Yes, I don't know if that's exactly what it was. It might have been something similar to that. I don't remember completely. But he's you know how like in like the Robert Downey Jr. Version, like they have time stop and him kind of discussing what he's gonna do.
Oh, I love that part. I love those movies.
It's great. So he does the same thing. So he's talking about how because the mosquito that he's gonna hit is right on like a killer bee glass container. Mm-hmm. So if he hits it too hard, he breaks the killer bees, and they all get released.
Stung, yeah.
So he's figuring out through mathematics how he doesn't break the glass. And guess what?
He breaks the glass.
Like, what's the whole point of being Sherlock Holmes if he's not Sherlock Holmes? He's a buffoon.
I feel like this movie would have been better if they had like an actual Sherlock Holmes and then a guy trying to be like Sherlock Holmes.
Yes, or don't call him Sherlock Holmes. Have it be like you know, like when they do a spoof movie, they rename the character.
Yeah.
Rename him something, and then you have free range to do whatever you want. But the fact that they chose to use Sherlock Holmes and Watson, it just doesn't work. Now,
Murloc House, that's what they should have named him.
Even I found the character of Watson. I found him kind of be the brains. I thought John C. Reilly's character of Watson was the quote unquote smarter at times than Sherlock Holmes. You know, we see this. He seemed the best Sherlock Holmes. So there's a scene where they're confronted in like a boxing gym, and Sherlock Holmes doesn't do the boxing. Watson fights for him, and when Watson kind of gets thrown out of the ring, Sherlock's like, I'm going to do that mathematical thing, like figure
Yeah.
out how I'm going to do it. I'm going to give him distraction. I'm going to give him a chop, and then I'm going to go through it and knock him out. But when he doesn't fall for the distraction, so he kind of squeals like a girl, and then goes to fight him and gets kind of hit, and then Watson comes and hits down for him.
Okay.
Even at the end of the movie, it's Watson that saves the day.
Okay.
So again, I thought the concept was doomed to fail from the start.
Yeah, I can totally see that. From what I know of Sherlock Holmes, he's one of the more serious characters, and I love Will Ferrell, but this decade hasn't been the best for him.
No,
his
it
decade was
hasn't.
the 2000s. I feel like comedy has evolved since the 2000s.
And I want to talk a little bit about that as well. Like, in the books, it's no secret that Sherlock Holmes dabbled in drugs, specifically opium. But this movie, they were like, "Oh yeah, I do heroin. There's some cocaine. Let's do some cocaine."
So
it's a PG movie for kids. They make drugs look good. And like not like just like Seth Rogen's movies that would make like marijuana look good. They made hardcore drugs. Look, if you do drugs, you're gonna be smart like Sherlock Holmes, because that's how I get my brains. It's insulting to not only Sherlock Holmes, it's insulting to people or I don't know. And the laziness. Like when he needs help, he screams for his whatchamacallit, his lady, Miss Hudson. Miss Hudson! Ah, Hudson! Really?
That's a classic Will Ferrell thing, though.
It is
in
a
those
classic,
movies where they
but that's not
scream
Sherlock
for help.
Holmes.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Sherlock Holmes is cool under pressure. So, I'll talk a little bit about the movie as well. I don't even know if you can... Well, actually, before I talk about the movie, I don't even know if you can call this movie a comedy.
Okay.
It's not funny. Yeah, sure, there's moments that have some humor to it, but I don't find the jokes funny. And you talked a little bit about it. Comedy's evolved, and this movie didn't evolve with comedy.
Yes.
So, this movie begins with Sherlock Holmes as a child, and he goes to a boarding school. And in this boarding school, he's kind of picked on. So he's got his little pet turtle, his violin, anything quote-unquote associated with Sherlock Holmes. Except for he's not smart. Mm-hmm. And he's sitting there dreaming of this girl in school that he's got a crush on. And two bullies come up to him and be like, "Hey, this girl wants to kiss you. Put on this blindfold." Okay, so he puts on the blindfold and he goes to kiss the girl.
Bird Box influence.
And he kisses a donkey's ass.
Sorry. That's not funny. That's pretty funny. I'm sorry.
But is it funny for Sherlock Holmes? If a random person does, he's supposed to be brilliant. So he starts crying, and his tear goes halfway down his face, and then it stops. He's like, "Nope, I'm never going to cry again. I'm not going to show emotions." And he brings the tear up, and then light bulb. And he starts talking about every student and what they do wrong, and everyone gets expelled. So he's at this school all by himself.
Okay, that's a little weird. Yeah, no wonder people wanted to walk out.
That's the first 5 minutes of the movie.
Seems like one of those, how do I say, those disaster movies, those spoof movies, like scary. You know how Scary Movie started that whole slew of disaster movie, blah blah blah. It's like one of those straight to video. Yeah,
it's just not good. So then we get to that mosquito scene. So Holmes and Watson, we get introduced to them, and they're late for court. So James Moriarty, is on trial, and all the witnesses have been killed. And the only person that make Moriarty seem guilty or find Moriarty guilty is Sherlock Holmes. Mm-hmm. So he's got 10 minutes to get to the courthouse.
Okay.
Like Sherlock Holmes is going to be late for court or not be at court when I mean, that's nitpicking. I understand it's nitpicking. Mm-hmm. But it's important to get a character right. A character that's been established. So instead of going to court, he's playing with this mosquito.
All right.
Watson jumps off the third floor, falls down, comes into the courtroom somehow, alive in one piece, and he starts shooting his two revolvers throughout the court. He hits the gavel of the judge.
Why
he shoots a person because he's introducing Sherlock Holmes. Bang, 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 bang. I give you Sherlock Holmes. Yet he kills someone. It's not. It's funny in the sense that it's so extreme, but you're just watching. You're like, he's the good guy. Why is he shooting up a court? Like that would never happen.
So now I can start to see why people got up and walked out of this. Just kind of sound. This is not sounded appealing for me to watch right
So
now.
Holmes walks in and he's like, "This is not James Moriarty. This is another guy." And if you look, and he starts to explain why, like his hand is trembling because he didn't actually say it, but he was using like 3 or 4 different analogies to say he masturbates a lot. So he masturbates so much that his hand tremors, so he couldn't be Moriarty.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. I'm not gonna...
It's funny when I say it,
Yeah.
but when it drags on for 3 minutes in the movie, not funny. So, anyways, he then says, I found fingerprint evidence. I've discovered fingerprints.
Okay.
And I found Moriarty's fingerprints all over the crime scene. Therefore, it couldn't have been Moriarty.
Wait, what? Oh, okay.
Because Moriarty's too smart to leave his fingerprints. So clearly this is not Moriarty. Moriarty is on his way to America. And the judge is like, I believe you. And his gavel's broken, so he makes a noise. Bang, bang. This is a free man.
But isn't he part of the whole... Okay. All right, sweet. Awesome movie so far. I'm really intrigued.
So from
Amazing.
there, Sherlock Holmes and Watson are invited to meet Queen Victoria.
Ooh.
So they go to Buckingham Palace, and we see that scene from the preview that Watson says, "I love you, I'm in love with you," and grabs her hand and won't let go. And they meet the Queen for the first time, and then the Queen brings them into, I guess, her main chamber, and we find out this is actually a surprise birthday party for Sherlock Holmes, and Sherlock's known about it for weeks.
Okay.
Yay. I just want to kind of talk about this. I will admit this is a little nitpicking of it, but I'm a history person, and that comes with the territory. Why is Queen Victoria throwing a birthday party for someone she's never met?
Because it's Sherlock Holmes. He's famous.
But he's a detective. Why would
he's
the Queen
the
of
most
England,
famous detective in all of England?
Why would the Queen of England deal with a bird like? At least meet him a couple times first. I don't know, like it just, and he didn't capture Moriarty. Moriarty did get away. Let's actually talk about this concept. Moriarty gets away, and he's celebrated as the greatest detective. Shouldn't he be criticized for not catching Moriarty and letting another victim go?
Yeah, but listen, Queen Victoria doesn't roll that way. This isn't your grandpappy's history. This is Holmes and Watson's history.
Okay, so a birthday cake comes, and Holmes goes to cut the cake. It won't cut. Watson comes in. It's not cutting. I think we're all kind of getting the idea. There's a dead body in there. But they get a big, huge axe. Goes to cut the cake. Dead body comes out. On the dead body is a note saying that the Queen of England will die in 2 days.
Oh, okay.
The Queen of England, who's supposed to have a huge army to protect her, is going to be killed by Moriarty.
He's going to poison her.
Then why don't you send her away somewhere? She's the Queen of England. This is your time to go vacation somewhere in the colonies. Go to Canada. Go to India, Australia. Go somewhere. Go on a little vacation. Like, really? I don't know if that's nitpicking, but come on. Like, anyway. So
This movie sounds amazing.
So Watson goes to give an autopsy of this person. And he meets 2 Americans. An American doctor, who we see from that's the scene in the preview. It's
where they laugh
you're
that
a
she's
female doctor. You can't be a doctor. She's from Boston. Now, I do have a question for you. Again, maybe nitpicking, but I just don't understand it. This person is threatening the Queen. Shouldn't the best autopsy or the best doctor be giving the autopsy for this?
Maybe.
Why are they giving it to... No,
He's the best doctor.
Well, not Watson. This American girl.
Oh, okay. Oh, she's doing it. Wonderful.
Yeah, with Watson, and then they kind of fall in love. And then the other girl, who's apparently has the brain of a 6-year-old, Holmes falls in love with her.
That's unpleasant.
So, but maybe the stupidest part in the movie is when they enter this morgue. they see this dead body, and Sherlock Holmes gets sick. So apparently, when Sherlock Holmes sees a dead body, he vomits. He's a detective, right?
Didn't he see the dead body with the cake?
I'm glad you brought that up because I was thinking the same thing when I watched the movie. I turned to my buddy Sean and I'm like, didn't he see a dead body like 30 seconds earlier? But apparently that's okay. They wanted to make Sherlock Holmes, squeamish.
Okay.
So he spends the next day kind of doing his detective work. And I'm going to air quote detective work because he starts by saying that because through the autopsy they couldn't find a cause of death. So Sherlock Holmes says, I'm pretty sure he was poisoned. And then in order to prove his theory, he poisons Watson.
Oh, okay.
Purpose? I don't know.
Isn't Holmes kind of addicted to Watson in all the series?
No. Not at all. I mean, he tests Watson, but not in a negative way. Not to poison him just for the sake of poisoning him. So anyway, gives them the antidote. They go off to like the worst part of London. They go get some drinks. He ends up sending like a drunk text or telegram to his lady doctor friend, which includes a dick pic.
How do you?
Again, they try to say it like they try to take a picture. Make sure you get that all in there. Describe it well. Like really, it's not funny. At least I didn't find it funny. Maybe you'll find it funny. I didn't because again, they're making Watson a buffoon. They're making Sherlock Holmes a buffoon. I can't handle my liquor. We have that boxing scene I kind of talked about, which is a waste of a scene. We see Sherlock Holmes put on a mustache, and Watson's like, "I'm gonna shoot you." Oh no, Watson, it's just me. Take off the mustache. Oh, good job, Holmes. You put on a mustache. That's the greatest. That's worse than Superman in the glasses. And then he puts on the mustache again, and he goes to shoot him again. Okay, they make him into a buffoon.
That sounds super horrid. I don't know. Anyway. So
after that night, Queen Victoria comes to Sherlock's house at 21B Baker Street. Okay. 221 B Baker Street. And, okay, I lied. This is the worst scene in the movie. All right. So they go to take that selfie you see in the preview, and then Watson smashes the Queen over the head with the camera. Mm-hmm. Queen smacks her head on a table.
She's dead.
They think she's dead. This doctor checks her pulse. She's dead. So they try to throw her in a chest while the guards are staying outside. They're banging her. They're smashing her. Then they go to cut her up. And the guards come in and it's like, she wakes up. And she's like, I want a copy of that picture. What? Explain this to me. It's not funny. It's stupid. It's I don't even know how to describe it.
This does sound like an 8% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, I think that's very fair. So then Holmes goes to see his brother Mycroft, who pushes him towards someone you know. The person who is responsible for all this is someone you know. So Holmes is like, "Oh, it's Watson." So he goes to the police station and says Watson did it all. Watson goes to jail. Yay! And then then Holmes feels a little guilty for it, and then there's a musical number.
Oh. So they're trying to pull Steph McFarlane over
Pretty much. So then we find out that the real culprit is Mrs. Hudson, the housekeeper, who is the daughter of Moriarty.
He didn't know that?
Apparently not, and that's totally uncanon for the story. Miss Hudson is definitely not related to Moriarty in any way, shape, or form. So her plan is to blow up the Titanic.
How does that kill the Queen?
Because the Titanic is in London on the River Thames.
Oh, okay.
And she's on it for its maiden voyage.
Oh, okay.
Okay, couple things. Again, nitpicking maybe. But, okay, ladies and gentlemen, the Titanic sailed in 1912. Queen Victoria died in 1901. The Titanic was also a ship that couldn't steer very well. It would not have been able to get to London, England through the River Thames. I'm sorry, but it just wouldn't happen. It is ludicrous.
Thank you for that quick history lesson. I actually didn't know that. So I actually learned something today, and that's really wonderful.
So Mrs. Hudson has left a bomb in the room that the Queen is in a drum. It is Watson who figures it out, not Sherlock Holmes, because Sherlock Holmes isn't smart enough to figure it out. And then Sherlock Holmes is trying to devise a plan to figure out how to get the bomb out in time, because there's 2 minutes left, or a minute left. So he's doing that math in his head. But every time he does, he thinks of a girl, and he can't figure it out. So Watson's like, screw it, I'll do it. He grabs the drum, rips it open, grabs the bomb, throws it out the window. It falls in Mrs. Hudson's ship. She dies. Watson saves the day.
Moriarty's still, why would it be Miss Hudson?
I don't know. No one knows why it's Miss Hudson. It makes no sense because she's the daughter of Moriarty, apparently.
And Moriarty's still out doing his thing.
That's it. And Moriarty went to the U.S. So the last scene in the movie is Holmes and Watson in Colorado kind of spying on Moriarty. That's it. That's the movie. That
sounds like a great movie. 10 out of 10.
3 out of 10.
Deserves
That's what
Oscars.
I gave it. A 3 out of 10. Don't
he doesn't
watch
know what
it.
He's talking about. This movie deserves Oscars.
It would probably be my fifth worst movie of the year because it's still not some of those other movies I hated more than it. There were, like I said, there were a couple of funny scenes. They modernized the humor a lot. So Sherlock Holmes is looking for a hat and he puts on a fez that says "Make Britain Great Again."
Okay.
When the Americans come over and they're talking about like their systems, America's like, our system is so good. We're a democracy, unlike you, who is a monarchy. We would never have anyone who's unqualified be our leader. Not a businessman. And there's the Electoral College that will always protect democracy, so the person with the most votes always wins. So, I mean, there's some political humor that goes with it that's kind of funny, but I never like laughed incredibly. I thought the movie was horrendous. I would not recommend it to anyone. And like I said, 3 out of 10.
Do you think it would get a sequel?
Well, I think that they were aiming to have a sequel for it, but the fact that it has 8% on Rotten Tomatoes, that people are walking out of the movies, that it's going to be one of the biggest box office bombs of the year, I'm going to go with no.
That's a shame.
It's not really a shame at all.
Do you think this is it for Will Ferrell, or are you still going to have... Do you think he's going to go the Eddie Murphy route, where it's crappy movie after crappy movie?
But he does have decent movies in there, right? Like Daddy's Homes, they weren't horrible, right? The Other Guys, which I think is one of my favorite movies
That was
I've
more
seen.
early 2000s, though. Early
2010s.
2010s,
Yeah,
2010.
but I mean, like he's got movies in there that are good. He just has to pick wiser movies, I think.
Yeah, I feel like he's starting to go on the decline, whereas Steve Carell, he's going on the up.